It's Thursday, the 19th, I believe it is. Thursday, January 19th. Uh, I don't know. It's about 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Uh, I got to thinking after our Big Blue Button class we had yesterday evening. Uh, we covered basic stake marking, engineer scale, vertical measurements, the hike up is what I want to talk about so that it will prepare you to do your assignment. Maybe you figured it out with the information that we covered last night, but I want to go through it uh, also and make sure that we have the information we need to pass the quiz and the assignment. So, quick review. Last night was basic stake marking. And no doubt uh, I say no doubt. One moment. For some reason, my sidebar is in the way. And I can't find anything to. Maybe this will help. Uh, we should be able to see. So we last night just briefly we covered the cut stake, and we also talked about references either being a crow's foot or a hub, and this was the distance that we was going to have to remove material, in this case for 5 and 6 tenths feet and 3 and 9 tenths feet in this case. And the emphasis was that on a couple of things that we're going to use feet and tenths and hundredths of a feet. And we talked about how we illustrate that on a stake. Instead of 3.9, we use this little line and a subscript size 9. So that being said, and that will keep us from the operator from mistaking uh, that for 39 feet. Uh, and here's the opposite of that cut stake. It's the fill. Same principles. It's just that we're bringing dirt in, and in this case, going up 6.8 feet. Here, going up 5.3, and we've talked about the difference. Why aren't these the same? Well, it's because the original grade is different. This ground over here is lower, so we've got to come up further. This is a little higher. We don't have to come up near as far. We talked about a grade on grade stake, and this is simply the way you would mark it. Uh, you could measure up from here to there, or you could measure from here to there and put fill on either stake this distance. When it gets this close, that operator's probably going to come by with dirt and leave it just a little bit above uh, the mark, and to check it, uh, you would know that it's grade, and you would know there's a reference down here, whether it be a crow's foot or not, because it says grade. So you would go just dig the dirt away to see how much more, or if he has too much, how much the operator needs to take off. Now, those are called on grade stakes. We talked a little bit about the importance of marking the stakes, the clarity, and you start up here and go down as and you want to make it so that certainly the operator uh, can see it. And let me get away from that. And I think, yeah, we got into vertical measurements, which is really getting into the, as I called it, meat and potatoes, and it's transferring grades. It's transferring this grade using the hand level over to this point. And we said, we could say, for instance, if he read 2.56 on his engineer's rule, he would know that this height here is 2.56 higher than this point. And I feel like we got that clear. So on this stake that we would put in here, this being the engineer's rule, we would put fill 2.56 because we need to get up even with this grade right here. I feel like we, and this will come and go for you, and we'll continue to be going over different things uh, as we go through this course where it's repetitious. And but that's what we need. We need to go over and over. But these will be coming at us. These principles will be coming at us in different forms. Now, in this case right here, we have an actual happening going on, and this is a given. Let's call it. This is a known uh, process. It wants you to get to a desired grade that you can't see, but it's telling you it's 2.8 feet below this line right here. That's the cut. Well, if we take a shot at that from over here and we read 1.7, we subtract that from 2.8, and that tells us uh, this being the total distance from line of sight all the way down, just how much we have to fill to be up to this grade right here. And this would be a fill of 1. I'm sorry, this would be not fill, this would be a cut of 1.1 because the total cut here minus the reading 1.7 tells us that we still have to go down 1 1/10 foot to reach the desired grade. Got that a little backwards in the beginning, and that's always confusing, but just to clarify, from here, from this reference point down is 2.8. So if we take a shot across here, from here down is 2.8. But where we are is 1.7 down. So we still have, according to 2.8 minus 1.7, we still have a foot and a tenth to go down. So we would put cut 1 1/10. Same process going on over here. Your cut is 2.6. That means from here to here needs to be 2.6 feet down to the proposed grade. I'm sorry. Am I reading that right? Yes, 2.6, and here it is over here, 2.6. It just kind of looks like an 8. So the same happening going on. 1.7 subtracted from 2.6 leaves us 9/10 yet to go as far as removing dirt. So this would be a cut of 0.9 written on this stake right here. And again, the same principle. It's just going in a different direction. In this case, look how much higher we are here than here. So we know we're going to have to add more dirt here. So it says fill 1.5. If we pull this over here, we know we have 1.5 to go. And if this measures 1.7, then 1.5 plus 1.7 is 3.2. And you notice a while ago we were subtracting because we were going down. In this case, we're going up from the earth. This is the grade here. But all of this, this is the reference point. as here. So this tells us we still have 1.5 to go here. And if we're reading 1.7, that means 1.5 plus 1.7 is total fill will be 3.2 from here to here. And that's what goes on that stake. Okay. Uh, Going a little fast, but this is just a review. Now I want to get into that's not the quickest way. The operating engineers call this a hike up, but it's really called a grade boot. And hike up is what you have to calculate to know where to put the boot. That will become clear momentarily as we get into this little section. So let me open her up there. This is worth reading here to me. It says many times it is necessary to employ the use of a hike up. Now, notice right here, it tells you this is a hike up. The use of a hike up, so you can read the engineer's rule more comfortably. I guess you noticed a change in my cursor. When grade is close to the ground, like here, even if this little pile of dirt wasn't in the way, you would almost have to lay down to use this hand level down here to shoot straight across and come up with this grade. So the boot, and I'm going to start calling it a boot, it requires a hike up to tell you where to put the boot. So this is a matter of convenience, and the 2 foot is, let me finish reading. I'm getting ahead of everything here. So user hiker can read the engineer's rule more comfortably when grade is close to the ground or when your view is obstructed, as illustrated in this figure here. In this situation, you would hike up the mark on the left by 2 foot to a newly established target. Now listen to what that said. You would hike up, I lost my place. You would hike up the mark right here on the left by 2 foot. That it, you may want to hike it up 3 foot, but that would put it way up here and that would be too high. So just generally looking at this, I'm going to hike up 2 feet. So from the dimension of, where did I go? Then I'm getting ahead of it. To a newly established target right there. Let me go back. I just, out of the blue, decided I wanted to hike it up so I could see over this little hump. I'm going to bring it, measure it with the tape, engineer's tape, measure up 2 feet. I'm going to put a line right here. So when I put a line right there, that's 2 feet higher than the grade. So here's what I have to do. This line of sight, I bring it over here, and this tells me I'm reading 3.7 on my engineer's rule. But remember, I'm shooting at something that's higher than this. I just happen to know exactly how much higher. So when I come over here, I remember I have a 2 foot boot, so I've got to go back down. So I subtract that 2 foot, I measure 2 foot down, right? And then 2 foot from 2 foot from 3'7" is 1 foot 7. So what that tells me is the total, the I need to come up 1.7, but I also to get to where this grade is. I feel like I'm talking in circles. I'll see if I can straighten it out. Uh, from here on the bottom of the ground is 3.7. That's what he's reading right here. He has already came over and measured up 2 foot. So simply put, he's going to have to come down 2 foot and mark right here. So if he's reading uh, 3.7 and he comes down 2 foot, this is gonna, what is this measurement gonna be here? What is that? That is the same as this measurement. But what has he got to do? He's got to tell us how to get to this. Uh, well, we don't have the proposed grade. He's got to, I guess, no, this is the proposed grade. He's going to have to fill 1.7 to this stake. I'm going to go back through this because I bounced around a little bit. I want it to be clear why I'm going to do that. This is grade. It's set by our surveyor. This is a known grade. We don't know what the elevation is and don't need to. We just know that we need all of this area to be this height. So he can't see it, right? Because of this big clump of dirt. So he just measures up 2 foot, takes a shot at the 2 foot line, makes a mark on his stake, and comes down 2 foot. And that puts this mark the same elevation as this mark. Now, if he's reading 3.7 and he comes down 2 feet, what is left? 1.7. So the dirt needs to be even across here. So all of this has to be a fill of 1.7 to get to grade. Now, having said all of that, there is a kind of a rule, not sure it's written down anywhere. All of that writing you see up here is maybe even clearer than I said, but if you just go over here and say, I want a 2 foot boot, well, he put his hike up first. He decided on that. Let's just say I walk up to this situation and I look it over and I know that this grade needs to be over here, but I can't see it. And let's just say I'm going to use a 2 foot boot. So to get, no, I don't want to do it that way. I'm really sorry. Let's start it. Let's wait till the next slide. Let me go back through this so you'll get accustomed to this. We don't have a picture of the proposed grade on here like we usually do, but we do know that it's right here, right? So if I'm going to put a 2 foot boot, then I would have to say that the formula would be boot minus cut or fill. That's where to put it. See, I don't know. I'm just thinking I want to. So the fill we've already figured is going to be 1.7. So let me stop. I'm sorry. Uh, Let me just stop a minute and I got off on it. I want to go back through it the way it shows here and make sure that I'm not messing you up because I'm off track. I'm thinking of something else. The situation is that we need to get this grade, this crow's foot, over on this stake. Normally, in vertical measurements, the way we have been doing it is we have been taking a shot at this uh, grade and then marking it. The problem is here is we can't see this crow's foot with our hand level, so we just hike it up 2 foot, right? I have complicated this, but I'm uncomplicating it now, I hope. So since we can't see it, we just measured up 2 foot. We took a shot at that mark. We know that that mark is 2 foot higher than this grade, and this grade needs to be over here. So we take a shot at the 2 foot boot or the 2 foot high cut, and then we simply measure down 2 foot. And then all we got to do then is looking at our reading 3.7. That's what that's telling us, that he's reading 3.7. We know that what's left is by subtracting 3.7 minus 2 foot, we get 1.7. So to equal this 3.7, we need a fill from the ground up of from the ground up of 1.7. Okay, do you see what I'm saying? A while ago, this was in my mind as the proposed grade. It's not. I complicated it. All we have to do is walk over here to the stake, get our engineer's ruler out, this thing, and measure up 2 foot, put a mark, come back over here, take a shot at that, right? And wherever we are, we mark it. And then this is not on here yet, we measure down 2 foot and we put this grade here. So the fill, that what goes on this stake, would be, since we're reading this on our engineer's rule, we would subtract 2 foot, leaving 1.7 that we have to add of material to get to this point. Man, I hope that cleared it up. And I'm awfully, I surely apologize because my mind was set on this being the proposed grade, but it's not. This is the proposed grade. Once again, it's a matter of convenience using a hand level when there's something in your way or this is too low. Like this grade would be on the ground. To shoot it, you couldn't. You would hike it up. So in this case, whoever just said, I'm going to hike this up 2 foot, so this is not in my way. He took a shot at that, and then he made a mark on this stake, and he knows he's got to go back down, or she, 2 feet, and that's going to be his grade. Since he is next to his engineer's ruler, he also notes that that's reading 3.7. Well, grade is 2 feet lower than 3.7 in this case. So you take the 3.7, you subtract literally 3.7 minus 2, and it tells you that there's 1.7 of fill needed to put all the way across here to be even with that right there. This is one way to use for a fill situation. I'm not going to hound you anymore with that. We'll be a little bit clearer coming up, the real advantage of a boot and what I had when I was trying to split it. I complicated this thing, but it's just simple. Up to, across, down to. That's all it is to it. All we're doing is accommodating that little piece of dirt. We could go over there and shovel it out of the way, but still we'd be pretty low. It's just a matter of convenience. Let's look at, that's the principle of the high cut. Let's look at this situation down here. Now you look, You look at your stake and you can see uh, that this is a cut situation. Here's cut. Here's a cut. Let me pull it up a little bit more. This is on high ground. Your cut is 2.4 here. Over here, we're on lower ground, so we just got to go down a half a foot. Now, let's look at all this. This is the question we have is we would like to have a 4-foot boot. Just looking at the situation, you know, this would be convenient for me to shoot as a 4-foot boot. But I can't see this ground. I do know that it's 2.4 lower than this mark, right? So where do I put this 4 foot so that it is 4 feet above here? That's what I'm trying to do. Then I will know, no matter what this says, I will know that when I measure, when we're cutting and I can measure from here down and it reads 4 foot, I will be on grade. Now look how I know how to put that and where this came from. I decided I wanted a 4-foot boot. When you it's kind of got a formula. The hike up equals the boot minus the cut. Look at this. What is 4 minus 2.4? I'm going to double check them. 4 minus 2.4 equals, well, look at there, 1.6. I can do that in my head, but I just always trust this calculator. If I measure up from here 1.6, this line will be 4 foot above where my proposed grade will be, because 2.4 plus 1.6 equals 4 foot. Boot, 4 foot. I just chose that. I could have wanted 3. Then it would have been 3 minus 2.4, and my high cut would have been a little bit lower here. But I want a 4-foot one because I think it'll be convenient for me. Once I've established where 4 foot above grade is, that's my boot. A boot is a known distance above grade, usually expressed as a whole number. So boots come in 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Anything above a 5 is a little bit too high for most of us average size humans to see. In this case, I chose 4. So I take the 4, I subtract this known cut from it, and that leaves me 1.6. Well, if I come up here, 1.6, make a mark, I know that mark is 4 foot above where I want to be. Now, we'll continue. Bring the 4-foot boot over here. Do that by taking a shot at it, and you put that mark right here, and you know your distance where you want to be is 4 foot. What you are reading on this shot is 1 point, what are you reading here? 1.6 and 1.9. You're reading 3.5 just because it's just illustrating where you are, where this reference point is going to be over here, but we're going to put a different reference point on it. As you can see, it's already down here. So what we need to know is what to put on this stake. And as you can see, I added these two together because it was given to me right here. And that tells me this is what he's reading on his engineer's rule. And that was 3.5. What do I want to be reading when when I'm down here shooting at this boot? What do I want to be reading to know when I'm on grade? 4. I want to be reading 4. But I'm not. I'm reading 3.5. So that tells me that I have to go another half foot. So what goes on the stake is cut 0.5. As my operator is cutting down to grade, I can go with my engineer's rule and the hand level. I can stand out here anywhere, and let's just say I'm standing right here and he's cut, but I'm not at the proposed grade. I'm standing right about here. And if my rod shot, my engineer rule reads 3.5, that tells me that I still need to go 0.5 more. So I tell the operator, cut a half a foot, and then I'll recheck it again. When it reads if it reads 3.8 as I'm standing on the ground shooting this 4, if it's reading 3.8, I'm too high. Do you get that? It's a lower number, but I'm too high. When it reads, if it reads 4.3, I'm too low, if that's my reading when I'm down here checking grade. So this is going to be what's going to prepare you for using the boot exercise. Just remember, this means when I read on my engineer scale, wherever I'm standing down here, this dirt's going to be gradually taken away and we're headed down to this line. But when I'm reading 4 feet, I know I'm on grade. Actually, I use the cut to know how to calculate the hike up, but once I get this determined with the hike up, I know that's 4 foot above, then I'm good everywhere. I'm stand over here, and like I said, I read 3.5, so that tells me for this stake, I got to go down another half a foot. So I go down. I put cut on the stake, I put cut 5. But just say I'm walking around between here and there, between here and there, on this ground as it's going down, and I want to check. So I stop right here, and this same guy with his, we'll not have a stake, we just got the hand level, and the engineer's rule, and we're standing here, and we've cut down this far, and it reads 4.2. That means I'm too low. It needs to read 4. If it reads 4.2, I need to bring in some dirt. Actually, 2/10. I know that sounds different, but to change this elevation down here, this hand level can't move. Only this can move. So to get this to read 4, if I'm reading, I forgot what I said. Let's just keep it even. If I'm reading 4.2, I have to, the only thing I can move is put dirt in there and move this up 2/10, and it'll read 4. 4.2 is a higher number than 4, but the elevation is higher. Does that make sense? I'm sorry. The elevation of 4.2 is deeper because my engineer's rule is lower. The line of sight has to stay the same. And if I'm down here and I shoot 4, I'm on grade. But if I shoot 3.8, I'm too high, 2/10 too high. If I shoot 4.2, I'm 2/10 too low. Once again, you will get your reading from the engineer scale when you're shooting at this boot. You won't even have this information on here. You don't need it. Of course, this is only here to let us know what we're reading. We're reading 1.9 plus 1.6 is 3.5. 4 minus 3.5 is a half a foot. So that means I need to go down a half a foot. But to check the grade, I don't even need this. I just need to be able to see this, because this is actually a known distance above grade now, because I calculated the hike up by taking, arbitrarily, I wanted a 4-foot boot. I subtracted 2.4 from that. By doing that, it gave me 1.6. So that tells me if I'm already 2.4, and if I add 1.6 to it, I will be 4 foot above grade. And I've done all of that without ever seeing this grade until we get there. On the way down, I check the grade and keep the operator informed, because I need to read 4. And once again, that's me, the hand level, and the engineer's rod, and me taking a shot at this boot from different places and different elevations. You know, like if we want to be reading 4 and we read 2.8, what happens? We're 1.2 too high. If we read 4 point, I'm sorry, I forgot what I said a while ago. Let me take another arbitrary deal. If we read 4.2, again, if we read 4.3, we're 3/10 too low. We have to bring in dirt, because the thing you need to, it's hard to, unless I'm standing there with you, it's hard to understand that this cannot move. It's got to stay dead on that line. So if anything changes, it's got to be something that'll move the engineer's scale up and down until it does read 4. And the only thing that can legitimately do that is either adding dirt or taking away dirt. If your number is lower than your boot, you're too high. If your number is higher than your boot, you're too low. 4 point anything other than 0 would be too low. Less than 4, 3.9, is a 10th too high. The only way we can get there is either adding dirt or removing dirt. Okay, let me see what else I wanted to do. Uh, it's really difficult when I'm not in the room with you, illustrating, like putting a box under that ruler. Yet, if I take this, get that, if I don't move this situation, holding this level dead on that line, if it reads like 3.8, if I take 2/10 of it, of the surface, let's say this, let's put a book under here that's 2/10 thick. So I take a shot on it, and it'll read, and it reads 3.8. To get it to 4, I have to remove that book, and that will let this stick move down. We're not really trying to find the perfect place for the stick. We just need to be able to read 4 when we're shooting at a 4-foot boot. When we're shooting at a 2-foot, 3-foot, 5-foot boot, we want to read that because the boot is a known distance in hole numbers above desired grade. And the way to calculate that is to take the boot, subtract this known cut from it, and then measure up whatever amount that is when you subtract your boot minus your cut. That's your hike up. Measure up, draw a line there, and in many cases we'll put a ribbon on it. And that becomes your target for this operation right here. Now you can take this boot and put it over here. Just put a line there and put 4, and you're still good. You already know this is what you got to cut, but you don't need that information anymore. If you pull this grade, transfer this boot over to here, you're done. You don't even need to know that. Now, the only reason you're putting that there is for somebody else that might come along, and they may need to set another grade stake off for this one. So this is not difficult math. This is just a difficult concept. All of our lives, we've been measuring pretty much from the floor up to get things, to find out things. Now we have this to deal with, which is called a datum. It's a line of sight, just like your laser beam going across there is a line of sight. It's a datum, and we measure down and we measure up from it, depending on the situation. Now I want to go back to the modules. One, oh, am I still in the right course? Yes. Back to the modules, back to module 2, and I want to let us cheat a little bit. I'm going to give you, because it's just real difficult, especially online. This will be your quiz is going to be asking questions just about the things I've talked about, and it may not be easy for you, but nobody's going to be perfect on this first shot at grades because we take you pretty quickly into the theory of grade setting. So here we are at the assignment. Let's take a look at it, see what it says. All right. First of all, don't look at anything down here right now. Grade checker is using a hand level to sight a grade boot and parentheses hike up. The boot is already set for you. Now, to let the operator know how much needs to be cut or how much needs to be filled to reach grade at that location, this location, at that location, there are 7 scenarios in which you need to determine the amount of cut or fill. As you can see, there's 7, and it's going to tell you, write down the scenario number, scenario 1, followed by a period and your answer. So I'm gonna work you through this first one and maybe this second one, because this is brand new and I kind of got a little bit off on you when we first started the field. But this is your first situation. So this is number 1, 2, 3, and 4 is all about this stake, right? So here's the first situation. I read 3.4 on my engineer's rule. Do I have a cut or do I have a fill? And whichever one, how much? Now look over here. What's he shooting at? A 3-foot boot. That's 3 foot above grade. What does he read? 3.4. That means he is too low. And he's too low by 4/10. So here would be a fill of 0.4. It doesn't make sense, does it? not at first. It's just that he's too low down here. And when he shoots, takes that, sh- when he's taking that shot, this is 3 foot above grade. For him to read 3.4 on the grade rod has to be down lower, exactly 4/10 lower for him to get that reading, because this is 3 foot above where he wants to read. So the only way to correct that is to add that 4/10, and the way to do it is to fill it. One more, and then I'm going to wish you all the luck in the world. Let's look at number 2. You read 5.3, still looking at this 3-foot boot. I'm going to tell you something right now. You don't even need this information. As long as you have this, you're good to go. Look at number 2. Reads 5.3. Shooting at a 3-foot boot. Is he too high or is he too low? What does he want to read? If he reads 3, he's on grade, right? But my goodness, he's reading 5.3. He's I gotta get my calculator. He is way low. 2.3. He's 2.3 feet low. So he needs to fill 2.3 feet. One more. 2.8. Shooting at the same 3 on your engineer's rule. Remember what I said? If your number is smaller than your boot number, you're probably you are too high. If it's higher or greater than your boot number, you're too low. So this is 2/8. To read 3, he's going to have to take away 2/10. That rod is reading 2.8 right now. If he drops that rod down, that engineer's rule down 2/10, he'll read 3 feet and he'll be on grade. So this would be a cut of 0.2 feet. Do your best. Your course does not hinge on this exercise. Do your best. If you want to call me while you're trying to do this, do it. Uh, no problem. I'll help you through this. But do your best to figure it out. And if you get into trouble, I'm not going to answer them all. But if you just want to verify something, am I doing it the right way? Give me a call if you'd like. Hopefully I'll get this video posted prior to, I know I will prior to the weekend, but I want you to have time to look at it, work on it over the course of the weekend. And if you run into Monday, don't take advantage of me, but I'll be a little bit lenient on that. But I think we will get it. It just may take a little time. So other than me loading you up, try to have a good weekend, and we'll take this up later. If you need a big blue button on this thing, even if just one of you needs it, give me an email or go through the inbox or give me a phone call. Talk to you guys later.